Hey, welcome in everybody. It's January 7, 2024. We're here on a snowy Sunday night here in Massachusetts. I hope everybody made it through the big nothing of a storm that we got, but we got a little bit. We got a little bit here, and was happy. I actually got released from work early today, so I was home by 3 o'clock today. Got to sit down, put my show together. I didn't feel rushed, which was nice, and I could feel relaxed going into it. I caught 2 amazing streams today. I was dipping in and out. First, Melanie Little, which I'm going to talk about her here in a little bit, but also the Glare just had an amazing show too. I dipped in, I was checking them out. So props to both of them today for picking up Turtle Boy and Karen Reed and talking about them. So it was really cool to jump in and see them. And like I said, I was kind of dipping in and out all day. Nice to see everybody here. If you didn't make it out to court on Friday and see that whole movement, the Karen Reed movement in person, I mean, it's something to see for yourself. And I encourage everybody, if you can make it out and see how this movement just rolls through the streets and creates this huge presence about it. And it was just really great to see Karen there in person and see this smile on her face, to know that people back her, people are standing behind her, people know that she's innocent. And she's sitting in court. I sit there and I watch the hearings and I'm like, I cannot believe that this young lady is sitting here in the seat, and I can only imagine what she's thinking, having to go through all of this, knowing that she did not do this. And I'm sure it's very taxing emotionally. It's a lot of things to be going through. I can't comprehend all of that. But it's crazy. It's seriously crazy. And it's upsetting, and it pisses me off, more that I start to learn about this case and understand it more, and the things that I find out that are going on behind the scenes. And that's all now starting to come up. Jackson, Yannetti, and Little are really putting that all out there and getting this out there on the record, and the world will see. The world will see. And I'm going to tell you right now, there is so much reasonable doubt in this case. And I'm going to call it right now. I think when a jury, if this goes to trial, which, Auntie Bev and that DA's office, Lally, really wants to get this to trial. I'm telling you, they're really going to push for this. And I do think that Karen's team is going to have, even though we know the facts, we know the evidence, we know everything that's going on, I think they're going to create a roadblock for this. It's going to be very difficult for this team. But I'm going to tell you, if a jury has to go back and decide this, and there's so much reasonable doubt already amongst the public that are debating this, what do you think is going to happen when a jury gets into that room? They're going to come out and they're going to free Karen Reed. Karen's going to walk out of that courthouse and never have to go back. But then we still have a task on hand. It was funny. I was just talking to Tom about this the other night. We still have a task at hand. Now we have to go after the people that did this to John and get justice for John. So we'll get into that this evening. So what I wanted to do is kind of review a little bit of what happened in court the other day. I have a small presentation that I want to bring up. It's a little bit of review, but I refined it this afternoon, a little easier to read. So let me bring that up here, and we'll go through that. So let me just get this in position. Okay, so essentially, the other day there were a couple of motions that were filed. Basically, the 191 was an original motion seeking electronic communications from Elizabeth Proctor, Trooper Proctor, and Jennifer McCabe. Elizabeth Proctor's communications were denied. Trooper's Proctor's were allowed. There's not supposed to be an E there. Allowy. And then Jennifer McCabe some of it was allowed, some of it was denied. The allowed part was Trooper Proctor and Jennifer McCabe are both government witnesses. Records sought by defense satisfy Rule 17. The denied part was communication with Elizabeth Proctor, but does not meet LAMPRO requirements. We go into here, and essentially the results were, and I want to thank DC for getting me this information. It was really nice that you broke it down very easily for us. So Jennifer McCabe has to produce all communications, calls, texts, Facebook messages, Instagram message, any third-party communications with Trooper Proctor between January 29th, 2022 to the present. Yes, great, fantastic. That's the stuff we want to see. We want to see that communication. On the flip side, it's the same thing in the reverse of Jennifer McCabe. Great. That's what we want to see. Proctor's communication with McCabe. And then also all communications, text, Facebook message, Instagram message, third-party communication with the below groups in between January 29th and to February 18, 2022. Trooper Proctor and Brian Albert, Trooper Proctor and Nicole Albert. Perfect. That's what we want. I'll take it. We'll take it. Also, what I wanted to go into, and I wanted to kind of spotlight Elizabeth Little tonight. You know, she stands up at the end of court just before Auntie Bev gets ready to dismiss. She wanted to run out of there, dismiss it for the day. And she gets, just after Yannetti speaks, and gets it on the record again, championship move, gets it on the record again, the motion to dismiss the indictment, motion to disqualify the DA's office, and then also asked for the Verizon Google Nest records and gets that on the record. Super important, super win moment there. And I want to play that little portion of the end. It's about a 10-minute ending, and I think it's important for people to see it. I thought that was one of the most captivating pieces at the end of the day. She stood up. She seemed a little nervous at first, but got it on the record and said, "Look, Your Honor, we have a couple of housekeeping things that we want to get out there." And I think it was great getting that on the record. It's important. And I'm going to tell you why it's important to get a motion to dismiss the indictment on the record. But I want to play that first, and then we'll go back to this presentation. And, I dug some things up. This is not my work. I'm not a lawyer, but I looked over some stuff today and why it's important to get a motion to dismiss the indictment on the record. So I'll give you some possibles in that. So give me a second here. I'm going to pull that up. And I really want to spotlight Elizabeth Little tonight. Amazing job. A second here. What is going on? I got some background noise and some stuff going on. All right. I think we fixed that. But I wanted to go through and spotlight her. She killed it in court. And so I think we're going to hear Yannetti speak a little bit here first, and then Elizabeth's going to speak.
Sure. I think it makes sense to raise this one issue, which is today was the filing deadline for all non-evidentiary motions.
Right, and none have been for evidentiary motions.
Okay.
Today was the filing deadline for evidentiary
Okay.
motions to suppress,
Yes.
things like that.
I understand. So the defense will be filing before the end of business today, not evidentiary motions, but non-evidentiary motions one motion to dismiss and one motion for sanctions and also for disqualification of the Norfolk County DA's office from this case. So
All right, so you were not,
Great move. Yannetti gets it there. And then when Elizabeth stands up, she gets it again on the record. And I love that move. It's a powerhouse move. They get it at the end of the day. And I loved it. It was great. Great move. So we'll hear it
not
here. and then we'll have
filing
Elizabeth stand up.
motions to suppress.
Correct.
So they're being waived.
correct.
All evidentiary motions are waived.
Correct. Well, yeah, we'll have pretrial motions in limine. I don't know if they would,
Okay, but everything else, so,
but in
okay.
terms of constitutional issues.
So file them by the end of today, and if we can hear them on that date, we'll do that on the 18th.
I'm
Right,
going to tell you, this defense team is going to have an uphill battle with this judge. I'm going to tell you. She's going to make it as difficult as she can. She does not want to help and work with these attorneys. You can see it. You can feel and see the demeanor. She does not want to work with these attorneys. I'm telling you, it's going to be a difficult case, and they know it. It's going to be an uphill battle. But if they continue to do what they've been doing, being the powerhouse team in that courtroom like they have been during these hearings, if and when this goes to trial, they need to level up one more and really get that jury to understand what's going on.
And that would, depend on Mr. Lally ability to respond, et cetera, which, I understand he may need some time, but they will be filed today.
Okay. All right, thank you all.
Your Honor, there's
right here.
I apologize. Your Honor, there's several housekeeping matters I wanted to address with the court. In regards to the motions to dismiss that Mr. Yannetti, my brother, just discussed, we do have a motion to dismiss the indictments in this case, and I wanted to lodge the grand jury minutes with the court. They are very voluminous. I wanted to ask the court's guidance on how you would prefer to receive those.
So when that happens, we typically get them on a flash drive, as well as, Jimmy, how are they filed with you?
Counsel have filed by email and then followed up with the grand jury minutes. So they can do it by a thumb drive.
All right, so a thumb drive, but get a separate one for
We'll
me.
mail that to you so that you'll have the hard copy, the thumb drive. The other housekeeping issue I wanted to address with the court, Your Honor, is, as you know, the court has ordered the Verizon records relating to Jennifer McCabe, as well as the Google Nest
On
records.
the
We were
record.
informed by the clerk's office those were supposed to be produced to the court on December 15th. My understanding is you guys have not received anything, and I wanted to follow up on that because that obviously is evidence that we hope to have in advance of trial.
All right, so Mr. Clerk, is your office call or is counsel call?
I've never called.
Yeah. So typically defense counsel calls and says there's a court order, where are these records?
Yeah,
I
they did.
emailed the clerk's office and they said that they haven't received anything yet. And so that's why I wanted,
Right, so call Verizon and call, who's the other record
Absolutely.
holder?
Google Nest.
Contact the record holder and say there's a court order, where are these records?
Okay, but
Okay.
you all have not received anything.
I don't know. Jim,
Yeah. Jim.
have you received them?
Jim,
Could counsel come to sidebar?
Okay.
Absolutely.
yeah. You dropped the ball, Jim. 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 Now this is like the moment that I sit here and I it's like Karen's just sitting there like I cannot, like, she must think she's in a parallel universe. Like, I can't believe I'm having to sit here and go through this shit. Jim, Jim. Jim. just going to speed up for the interest of time here.
That's it.
Your Honor, if I may, just one last thing, just with regard to the motion to dismiss, as far as does the court want the exhibits that were presented to the grand jury in addition to the minutes, or just the minutes?
Yes, I assume where you say it's so voluminous, it's the exhibits as well, Ms. Little?
I can produce.
You have to stand in Massachusetts. Thank
Yes,
you.
I can produce the exhibits as well.
Okay. All right, so everything.
And I don't have a problem providing that to the court as well. I don't want to duplicate matters, but
Okay.
if it's easier, I
It's
can.
funny,
do it.
you
It's
know,
fine.
so being there in person on Friday and seeing Lally walk into the courthouse, it's just like he looks just so defeated. Like he doesn't want to be on. He's like, why am I on this case? He's already defeated. He knows he's not going to win. They're not prepared. You know,
Those would obviously
They're not
be
ready.
provided under seal, Your Honor, with,
Of course, they're grand jury minutes.
correct. That's with regard to the motion to dismiss, the basis of which is the grand jury presentation. The separate
Is it
motion,
McCarthy or Odell?
both.
Okay.
With regard to the second motion for sanctions, Your Honor.
I will, Brass. Thank you.
The letters that were the issue of the protective order that the Commonwealth moved for, that we've now put off, those will be part of the quote unquote evidence with regard to the motion for sanctions. It's our position, obviously, that those are not exempt from public disclosure.
I'm
However,
going to keep them exempt until we hear from the U.S. Attorney's
that's
Office.
why I raised the issue, Your Honor. I just
All right,
wanted to.
was
let the
that your
court-
suggestion as well, so we could get moving with this motion
Of
to
course,
dismiss?
of
Okay.
course. Thank
All
you.
right,
Jeez.
all right, thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor.
I'm telling you,
All right, so-
it's going to be an uphill battle. Be prepared.
Thank you.
Wow, look at Karen. Look at Lally. Holy shit.
Now,
Go
I
back
don't know
to
that.
Wow.
Protective order that the Commonwealth moved
I
for,
never
that
even
we've
noticed
now
that
put off.
before.
Those will be part of the quote unquote evidence with regard to the
Hey,
motion
Karen,
for
look at
sanctions.
Lally.
It's our position, obviously, that those are not exempt from public disclosure.
I'm
However,
going to keep them exempt until we hear from the U.S. Attorney's Office.
that's why I raised the issue, Your Honor. I just
All right,
wanted.
was
to let
that
the
your
court-
suggestion as well, so we could get moving with this motion
Of
to
course,
dismiss?
of
Okay.
course. Thank
All
you.
right, all right, thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor.
All right, so
I don't know where the open mic is. Where's the open mic?
thank you.
Woo. Heat, hot, fire. Okay, let me go back up to the presentation here. So we talked about Elizabeth Little. I thought that she really had a great day in court, getting up at the end and shining. And then I just talked about the motion to dismiss the indictment. You know, here's some potential benefits of that. Dismissal of the charges. And again, I'm not a legal lawyer. This is just things that I found on the internet. I looked it up and kind of sourced all this stuff. So some may agree, some may not agree, but dismissal of the charges, the primary benefit of the possibility of having the charges against the accused dismissed, if the court grants the motion to dismiss, it means the indictment will no longer be valid and the case may be terminated. That's kind of the obvious. We know that. Legal protection. A successful motion to dismiss can provide legal protection for the accused, preventing further prosecution on the same charges. This is particularly important if the motion is based on legal grounds that, if proven, would render the indictment legally flawed. Suppression of evidence. A motion to dismiss may be filed on the grounds of evidence that was obtained unlawfully, or that there are procedural errors in the collection of the presentation of evidence. If the court agrees, it may suppress such evidence, weakening the prosecution's case. Preventing a trial. If the indictment is dismissed, it can spare the accused from time, expenses, and stress of a trial. This is especially significant if the motion is filed early in the legal process. It's kind of an obvious there as well, too. Preserving legal rights. Filing a motion to dismiss is a way to assert and preserve the accused legal rights. It allows the defense to challenge the validity of the charges and ensure that the legal process is fair to adhere to the constitutional principles, reducing legal consequences. Even if the dismissal is not granted, filing a motion to dismiss may prompt the prosecution to reassess the case. It could lead to negotiations for a plea deal or reduction in charges, potentially minimizing the legal consequences for the accused and then protecting reputation. A successful motion is to dismiss can help protect the accused's reputation by avoiding a trial and potentially negative publicity associated with criminal charges. Geez, that would have been great, wouldn't it, in this case? It's essential to consult with a qualified attorney to determine the specific grounds for filing a motion to dismiss, in particular case, to understand the potential benefits and risks associated with such a motion. Legal strategies and outcomes can vary based on specific details of each case. Of course, I had to put that in there because I am not a lawyer. I'm not a lawyer. Oh, by the way, please give Carrie some healing tonight. She has not been feeling well the last 2 days. I think she's had a flu and she's not feeling well. So let's throw some hearts in the chat for Carrie. If anybody doesn't know who Carrie is, Carrie's kind of my head moderator here and helps me out with a lot of legal paperwork behind the scenes when we do FOIA requests and stuff like that. So let's see some hearts, healing hearts for Carrie tonight. So anyway, that's the potential benefit of getting that on the record. Okay. Let's move on here. I want to talk about, I have a couple of the pretrial hearing videos outside courthouse from Court TV. Obviously, my big stance in what we're going to go through tonight is from basically Court TV. I mean, they were really the only one out there filming, really filming and being the mainstream media out there, aside from a couple of local channels that literally I went to look and I said, has anybody done any reporting on this? And I've seen 30-second spots, 1 minute and 30-second spots. And it was discussed a lot on Court TV. So we'll play some of that tonight. And then obviously we're going to get into later on with Vinnie Politan in his closing arguments when he had Jennifer Coffindaffer on. And the other Little that I want to talk about tonight is Melanie Little, where she essentially crushes Coffindaffer, which was fantastic. And I love that back and forth. And it's great because when you watch it, if you see Jennifer's body language, she looks pissed off and defeated because essentially, and I'm looking at my notes here, she says, she talks about the bites on the, she talks about, well, we know it's the bites. She talks about John's arm, Jennifer does. And she says, well, the scratches on her arm, I'm trying to paraphrase here, scratches on John's arm were from the car when she backed over him. And then she basically says, but she goes on to talk about Chloe and how Chloe bit another dog in the neighborhood and actually bit the person that was trying to separate them. So she basically bags herself because she says it's not the dog attacking, but then all of a sudden she says the dog attacks. So I thought that was pretty funny. And we'll go through that as well too. It was really, 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 really funny. I was watching that today and that segment was fantastic. So let's play some of the pre-trial videos first. We'll go through that and then we'll take you up to kind of that back and forth, which was fantastic. All right, let's play this one here.
Back in a Massachusetts courtroom this morning as part of the officer killed murder trial. She's accused of second-degree murder in the death of her boyfriend, Boston police officer John O'Keefe. Prosecutors allege she hit him with her car, left him to die in a snowbank after a night of drinking. Reed and her attorneys claim that other officers, friends of him, killed him inside a house. And this is all a big cover-up. Joining us now from outside the courthouse in Dedham, Massachusetts.
Yeah, I'm going to be honest with you. I think and I was just thinking about this today, I think this is inspiring me to further my education, to maybe go back to school or get some type of certification, maybe look into a journalism certification and becoming like a certified journalist here in Massachusetts. And, I've even thrown around being like a PI, because I really love this stuff. I really love the hunt of it and tracking this stuff down and understanding it and understanding the legal terms. Again, I'm not a lawyer. I have Google, so I can look things up. But it's kind of inspiring me to kind of further my education And here I am at almost 46 years old, and I'm thinking about like maybe going back to school or trying to figure out how I can just further my education in this. And it's it's been a really eye-opening experience. It's super been an eye-opening experience for me.
Massachusetts is
Very cool one,
Court TV
actually.
crime and justice correspondent Matt Johnson. Good morning still, Matt, and what a morning it's been there on scene there. Fill us in, set the scene for us. We watched it here, but you had the front row seat.
Yeah, and Ted, good morning to you. Quite a few fireworks, both inside and outside the courtroom here in Dedham, Massachusetts. We have a few stragglers of the supporters for Karen Read, and this sign says it all for what everyone's told me, is that it's all about justice for John O'Keefe. Now, as we pan around, I want to show you, this is a small town, very Norman Rockwell. Heartbeat of America. You can see that there's a lot of churches, steeples, but it's very old architecture. We're about an hour outside of Boston. There were barricades put out in front today.
I got to say this too. I think Matt treated Boston really well, or Dedham really well when he was here. I think he was very respectful. I think his reporting was great there. Obviously, I always love Vinnie Politan because I think he's very pro Karen Read. But I thought the coverage was great. The stuff that I looked over today, and I was like, oh wow, I was really impressed with what they did.
Because there was about 36 or so supporters supporting Karen Read earlier today. If we can play some of that video inside court earlier today when this started just after 9 o'clock Eastern time, there were eruptions of cheers from the gallery, the supporters that had lined the pews of the gallery when Karen Read walked in. Now, as she ascended from the steps after this hearing today, after those motions were argued, I did have a chance to meet up with her. I was asking her a couple questions. Here's what she said. How do you feel today went?
Today went great.
Karen, how are you holding up?
Awesome.
What can you tell us about the relationship?
Good me. I'm like, duh.
What other possible evidence may you have? Do you want to test with DNA?
We're not going to comment right now. Thanks.
Karen, what do you think about the supporters out here for you?
I'm very grateful, Matt.
Any comments for the supporters?
Thank you.
That was her big takeaway. She wanted to make sure that she said thank you to all of the supporters that continually line the streets here. We're in double digits. We're in the 20s here today, Ted, and people stood out here in front of the courthouse for hours to make their point that they support her.
And their point has been made very clearly over the last few months. It's a unique situation we don't see very often here at Court TV. It's usually people screaming for justice in the head of a defendant. This is the opposite for the
Linda,
most
thank
part.
you for becoming a
Let's
member.
talk
I
about
appreciate that.
in court what happened. One of the
Supporting
things,
channel.
a request for the trooper's wife's phone records.
Yeah, this was really interesting, and it took the bulk of today's hearing and the motion from the defense. They really want the phone records and the records from Elizabeth Proctor. She is the wife of the investigating trooper Michael Proctor. Defense says that the trooper's wife was friends with a couple who owned the house where O'Keefe died, where he went to that party. Prosecutors called it a fishing expedition. Take a listen.
And while privacy rights of Elizabeth Proctor, a third-party witness, are obviously an element of concern and consideration for the court, they must yield to the imperative of a fair trial. And that imperative means Ms. Read's ability to confront and properly cross-examine all witnesses, including Jennifer McCabe. Elizabeth Proctor's privacy rights, while they exist, especially in light of the narrow focus of our request, are vastly outweighed by our client's right to a fair trial.
Essentially, the relationship between these two, quote, families is a distant connection that involves 5 separate steps of relationships between,
6 degrees
I
of
guess I'll
Kevin
call
Bacon,
them
right?
relatives. Regardless of all of that, there's still issues on admissibility and relevance under the first prong of Lampron.
Now, at the end of the day, Ted, the ruling on this has been reserved. It's something that
I'm telling you, that's what they're going to push. That's exactly, you're getting a snapshot of what the prosecution's going to push. That these people were so distant The Alberts, McCabe's, they were so distant that there's no way that they could have conspired in any of this. I'm telling you, you're getting a snapshot of it at this hearing. That's what they're going to start doing, is distancing everybody, even though we're going to have all the phone records. We're going to have all the messages. Something may pop up. Something will pop up. But they're going to distance. They're going to go, there's no way. That's what they're going to do here. They're going to push these people so far apart. Thank you so much, says Brian. What camera holder did you have on Friday and what phone? It was so clear. So I used the DJI Pocket 3 and I had the Creator Combo. And I'm going to look into maybe getting some better editing software so I can it's called like color grade the footage. So I may do something like that. But thank you for the $9.99. I appreciate that. But I would look into it. It's a great camera. It's very convenient. I don't have it with me right now. It's over there. I don't want to get up on the stream and be rude. But check it out. DJI Pocket 3 comes with an external microphone. It has everything that you need to be in a tight crowd, and it's very thin, small. It's on a gimbal. It's great. It was rated the best camera of 2023, and I can't wait to see what the next version is going to keep blowing it out of the water. They've totally nailed it. All right, let's play here.
Supporters here have been really interested in. I have Joanne. You have a free Karen Read sign. The troopers
as far as I know, Turtle Boy has a court appearance tomorrow at 9 a.m. and that's what I know right now. Maybe some people in the chat know a little bit more behind the hearing, but that's the info that I know. And I want to kind of like piggyback off something I heard Will DeGlera say earlier today, that it just really sucks that Turtle Boy is not out in here in the now with us. I mean, he would have been there on Friday. He would have been out there in the crowd, being able to celebrate the fruits of what he started, his labor. I mean, I didn't do this. Will didn't do this. All the other people that are talking about the Karen Read case right now did not start this movement. That's all Turtle Boy, 1,000%. And it sucks. He's missed. I put out an open letter to him yesterday. And, right now, my purpose behind this is to keep the momentum going. Keep it going loud and proud, getting people to realize what's going on, getting this out past a national, a local audience, getting into national, getting into a world audience. He deserves that. He deserves that. He needs voices right now. He needs someone to keep continuing to talk about this. And I commend all the channels that are doing it now. And I think it's cool now. Melanie Little's now picking it up. And she's talking about it. She did a full case review today, like 3.5 hour stream for her people. And even she's saying right now, there's no way. There's no way. So that's what we want. We want people to understand that there is no way possible that this happened. And, he is missed, completely missed. All right, let's keep playing.
Relationships of the folks that were at that party, allegedly. Why does that interest you so much?
It interests me because the way that
I will not be there
Jen
tomorrow,
McCabe was so adamant on getting John there, and then what happened. Karen dropped him off, and she wakes up and he's still not home. And then just the searches on the Google searches. It's almost a story that is so crazy that people just can't believe it, but it's true. Like, it's one thing after another.
And, like Joanne and a lot of supporters that I've talked to today, Ted, they just say that they want the relationships and DNA and other evidence to just be brought to light.
You talk about DNA. That was another big portion of what happened today, Matt.
Yeah, DNA was another big key component of the motions that were argued today. The defense really wants more access to the DNA They want specific testing to be done. And that's the reason why I was asking the defense attorneys as they were leaving the questions about whether or not they had other evidence that they wanted to test against, not just the taillight matter that was found at the scene there. But they didn't want to show their hand. They didn't want to show their hand in court and say if they do have additional evidence, and they didn't want to tell us for that matter. But the bottom line is the defense wants independent lab to test DNA, and they want more access to the DNA. Here's what was argued in court.
As Your Honor can appreciate, my clients are under no obligation whatsoever.
So James was upset that I was out there filming, just like the major news was the other day, the mainstream media. So mainstream media is allowed to do it, but I can't go out and report on that or try to get some follow Karen and figure out what's going on. You know, what the mainstream media is asking her. That doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense, James. It doesn't make any sense. And you know, the cool thing about it, if you watch the whole video, actually at the end when Karen drove by me and Richie, Turtle Boy's filmographer, is that right? Is that the right word? Person that films, filmographer? I think so. She actually mouthed out of the SUV right to us and said, "Thank you. Thank you." So she had no problem with us being there. And we actually had a nice casual conversation with her parents that was said, "Thank you for everything that you've been doing." So I don't know. It's perfectly fine to follow her. We wanted to film, and we can do that. We're in public. We can do that. If the mainstream media can ask her questions, we can follow her as well. We want to bring that back to our audience, the Free Karen Read movement, to the Turtle Boy audience, for the people that want justice for John O'Keefe, and tell the story the right way, the correct way, with no bullshit. We had approval. We had approval from her and her parents, and they were very nice, very, very nice to us. Yes, videographer. I got it right. I got it right. Thank you, Masca. Appreciate that. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. She was fine with it.
To provide their DNA in this matter.
And actually,
But
the
they
funny
seek
thing
to
is,
take-
when I was out there and we were following, if I didn't say, look out for the cord, probably about 5 mainstream media with those big cameras on probably would have fell flat on their faces if I wasn't there, because they almost tripped over a cord that was a cable, power cable, probably about this big, draped across the lawn in the street. And if I wasn't there to go, "Hey, cord," because you can hear me say that in the video, and someone said, "Good job, Brian," because they would have tripped and probably fell on their face. So
take steps to demonstrate the integrity of their handling of the taillight evidence.
All good.
Again, you know, these were just a couple of the motions that were argued today. Very important for the defense, and to see how things are going to progress. Looks like the trial is slated for later this year,
Yeah, it wasn't like I
possibly
was
in
in
the
her
spring.
face.
Next
just off to the
hearing,
side,
Ted,
filming.
is going to be in about 2 weeks from now.
And I'm sure you'll be there. We will be there in force again, along with those supporters for Karen Read. And
all right, let's go to Vinny. Vinny. What do we want to go to? What do I want to go to? Let's go to, how long is this one? That one's long. It's kind of broke up. Let's go talk. Let's see Vinny. Vinny.
So is this a cover-up? And if so, who's leading the cover-up?
Your guess is as good as mine. That's what we're trying to figure out. That's exactly what we're trying to figure out. The
Who do you
Massachusetts,
think it is?
9 a.m.
certainly the
tomorrow.
Massachusetts State Police is involved. There are people that were in that house that are involved. Brian Albert is
Dedham.
involved. Jennifer McCabe is involved. The rest of the folks that were in that house, there's some level of involvement by every one of them.
It feels we're the only ones fighting for the truth of what happened to John O'Keefe. And me and my family and my attorneys and my team have marshaled every resource to get to the truth. It just feels like no one else wants it.
Karen, just to be clear, you didn't do it.
We know who did it, Steve. We know. And we know who spearheaded this cover-up. You all know.
But they're really alleging more than a cover-up here. This is more than, like, a cover-up is one thing. We're going to cover this up and no one's going to find out what happened. This is different. They keep calling it a cover-up, but what they're really alleging is a conspiracy to frame Karen Read for the murder of her boyfriend, John O'Keefe. That's what the defense is alleging here. Because there's other evidence that links her, according to prosecutors, to hitting John O'Keefe with her car and running him over. And what they're saying is that, alleging is that, I guess that evidence is planted, which would be like framing her. It's not just covering up what they allegedly did, it's framing someone else for doing it. Take a look. This is where John O'Keefe died. This is the home. Somewhere outside, or according to the defense, he was murdered inside or was beaten up badly inside and then was thrown out in the cold and died. Either way, he died on the lawn of this home. Karen Read is the one charged, not with accidentally hitting him with her car, but of murder. So tomorrow, big hearing. So let's bring in Court TV Crime and Justice correspondent Matt Johnson, who's joining us live from outside the courthouse in Dedham, Massachusetts. Matt, great to see you. Let's start with tomorrow, because every time something happens in this case, it's a scene, right? It's a scene at the courthouse. She's got a ton of supporters that show up and protest and scream for her to be set free and the charges to be dropped. What's tomorrow all about?
Vinny, nice to see you as well. And you're right. There is usually drama inside the courtroom and also out in front of the courthouse here. We're expecting a lot of protesters tomorrow. And you know what? We're expecting some fireworks in court. One of the main things that they're going to be discussing, the defense at least, is their motion about DNA. They want more access to the DNA. Let's put it on your screen what they're asking for in one of their motions here. So they're going to be focusing on DNA samples collected by a state trooper, Sergeant Yuri Buchanek, and focusing on Trooper Michael Proctor. The government wants to limit how the defense can use them in comparative analysis. Defense wants independent collection, and they want their own testers on all of this. And it's something that they've debated in public. Take a listen.
Michael Proctor, the state police trooper, being accused of planting evidence outside 34 Fairview Road, was never at Fairview Road on the day of the incident. Proctor and his state police partner traveled together the entire day while other officers were processing 34 Fairview. Trooper Proctor was not there and did not plant evidence at 34 Fairview Road.
Speaking of the authorities, Mr. Morrissey went on to say, quote, Michael Proctor was never at Fairview Road on the day of the incident. Take a look at this. That's an interesting statement. Mr. Morrissey to make. His official statement of the case that he released to the public, says, quote, later that morning, the Massachusetts State Police Detective Unit of Norfolk District Attorney's Office was notified and responded to the scene. His words, not mine. And in case that left any doubt, cleared it up with the next sentence. Trooper Proctor, Trooper Michael Proctor, and Sergeant Yuri Buchanek were among the troopers who what?
Responded to the scene.
We're going to hear a lot about those names tomorrow, Vinny, during these proceedings. And we're also going to hear a big motion that the defense is pushing for concerning correspondence. Let's put that on your screen as we break it down here. So it's a motion to release 6 letters to the public, and it will include letters with federal prosecutors. The content is currently unknown, but possibly related to that federal grand jury probe into the case. The state obviously wants to prevent the release of these, saying that they're not vital to the case, Vinny.
Excuse me.
Unbelievable. There's the case within the case, and the protesters and arrests of protesters. It's unreal what's happening up in Massachusetts. And the state is arguing a motion as well that they have?
Right. The state is going to be also taking a motion before the judge, and it's going to be talking about the release of phone records with a state trooper's wife. They say that this is a fishing expedition, has nothing to do with the case, but the defense says not so fast. So here's what that's about. The state motion on cell phone records, and the defense claims that the state trooper Michael Proctor and his family are close with the Alberts, They're very important to the story because the Alberts owned the house where O'Keefe died. The McCabe's attended that party. The defense is seeking cell phone records of the wife, claiming they can prove collusion. And again, the government calls all of this a big fishing expedition.
What does he got to say? Did he say anything? Anything you can share? Anything you can share, Becca? We'd love to hear it. Let us know.
All right, now let's get to the other part of the story. Residents in the area. I mean, there have been town hall meetings. There have been protests at the courthouse. What did you come across today?
Well, you know what? We've been traveling the area in and around Canton and also Dedham, where the courthouse is located here. This is the county seat. And we are seeing signs of support for law enforcement that are under that city probe now. And
yeah, Becca J., if you want to come up and just tell us a little bit, I don't know if you want to share any of that context. I can drop the link for you. You don't have to turn your camera on. Just turn your audio and let us know. I'd love to have you up. Just let us know how he's doing. Just give me an okay or a nay or whatever you'd like. I can drop the link. You can pop on.
And we're also being told by a lot of people in town that they are following the case very closely. They told us about all the signs in support of Karen Read. And here's what a few people told us. Take a listen.
I hear there's a lot of different viewpoints on this one, so no one really knows where it's going to go.
I see a lot of signs in a lot of yards, some conflicting, some not, but I certainly don't know enough to, I mean, it just seems shady all around, if you can ask
Drop
me.
your questions for Becca.
Yeah, I don't know how people feel. I just go by the yards, whatever the yards tell me. So
more yard signs for or against favor of Karen Read in her defense.
That's a great question. You know, my tally book is back at my house. I would say, let's call it a dead heat.
A dead heat.
Again,
I doubt
Vinny,
it, bro.
everyone kind of divided on the issue and the case of Karen Read here in this small town just outside of Boston. We also visited the neighborhood and the street and that house where Mr. O'Keefe was found dead. We're going to have more on that tomorrow, but residents around that area were definitely interested in what we were doing. And some people told us that they were in support of Karen Read.
Unbelievable. I've never seen anything like it. Never seen anything like it. So much support at the courthouse for someone accused of murdering a police officer. Matt Johnson, great work. Big day tomorrow, and we'll speak again tomorrow night. Thank you so much. Let's bring back in our think tank, Eklund Mercy, Kirk Nurmi, Nima Rahmani.
I know, right?
All right, Kirk, this is, they say cover up, but this isn't cover. They're alleging that she's being framed, for murder.
Is there any way I can get my video to him, Becca? Because I can get him a link if he can open a link. I'm not sure. So I don't know. Why don't you, oh boy, can you drop me an email and we can discuss a few things? I'd love to get him the court footage that I got for him to see. Because I was there and got good video. But if there's anything that I can do to help, only 30 seconds. Okay, I have some shorts that I did that I can send you if you want to get them to him. I'd love to do that. Vinny's admin here. We love seeing all the folks joining the channel. Yes, thank you. Thank you so much for the 5. I appreciate it. Oh, Vinny Politan's admin is here. Is that what you're saying? I'm a little lost. All right, let's keep playing.
By, I guess, the Massachusetts State Police, maybe some Canton Police.
My
Boston
Facebook message is shut down. It got too wild, too crazy. Just email me. Let's talk live podcast at gmail.com and we'll go from there. If someone can just drop the you know what I'm talking about, admins. The little Nightbot. Thank you. Email Nightbot. Just copy that email and send me there and we'll figure something out, Becca. We'll go from there. I can send you some shorts. I actually just put a bunch of shorts up of my footage outside the courtroom the other day. I think he'll love it.
police officers who were at the party. What are your thoughts here?
Well, when I hear when the government says the words fishing expedition, immediately that tells me that they have something to hide. As a defense attorney, you think, oh, it's a fishing expedition. Oh, what do you got to hide? Because I want some fish, okay? I want some fish. And let's face it here, Vinny, this isn't just throwing something against the wall and seeing what sticks. We have the feds investigating here, and we have the letters that Matt referenced.
I love Vinny.
With the prosecutor's office corresponding with the feds trying to divert the investigation. So we have possible potential witnesses there related to that might even disqualify the prosecutor's office. Likewise, we heard the prosecution official talk about Officer Proctor not being on scene, yet in a sworn affidavit before the court, they claimed he was there. So what is the truth, right? And so all these things aren't just fishing expeditions, they're viable because everything that the government has done since this case is demonstrative of the idea, whether you want to call it a cover-up or a frame job, but every single thing that they are doing just feeds into that narrative. And this is information, and this DNA as well, is information that I think the defense is rightly entitled to pursue their theory of defense.
All right, Nima, what are your thoughts here when it comes to allegations that state police, local...
This is great. So, Ms. Kari says, we had a debate and told him to stop having Coffin Dorker on the panel. When she comes to Karen, her Friday appearance pissed me off, and it shows her true colors. Absolutely. And we're going to go to that video later, and I talked about that, and I just thought the back and forth was hilarious. I said, you got to notice Jennifer's body language when Melanie starts talking, and it's pretty funny, the back and forth. And I said, she basically says that Chloe has nothing to do with it, but then in about 20 seconds later says, oh, and the dog was given up because it attacked another dog, and in the attack of that other dog, it bit someone. So I'm like, you just proved it that the dog attacks.
The police and perhaps some Boston police officer who lived in the home where all this happened are part of it's not a cover-up. It's not like something happened and we don't want anyone to find out. So something happened, and we're going to make it look like somebody else did it.
Well, Vinny, it's certainly possible, and, I do agree with Kirk. I don't like it when prosecutors withhold evidence. Now, there's certain evidence that you can't produce. Grand jury materials at the federal level, those are secret. You can't produce them. But of course, we all know, we've been watching court TV, anything that's potentially exculpatory, any impeachment evidence, any witness statements, that has to be produced to the defense. I don't like it when the government hides the ball. But you're right, Vinny, I've never seen a case like this in more than 20 years where there is so much smoke about this frame job or cover up. I'm not saying that that's what happened here. It's certainly possible, but we cover cases week in and week out, and it seems like we're marching towards an inevitable guilty verdict. But here's a case that I can see going in a very completely different direction, and it's certainly possible.
Did I just hear my ears? What? Did he say that we're marching towards a guilty verdict? What?
Now, there's certain evidence that you can't produce. Grand jury materials at the federal level, those are secret. You can't produce them. But of course, we all know, we've been watching court TV, anything that's potentially exculpatory, any impeachment evidence, any witness statements, that has to be produced to the defense. I don't like it when the government hides the ball. But you're right, Vinny, I've never seen a case like this in more than 20 years where there is so much smoke about this frame job or cover up. I'm not saying that that's what happened here. It's certainly possible, but we cover cases week in and week out, and it seems like we're marching towards an inevitable guilty verdict. But here's a case that I can see going in a very completely different direction.
I wasn't active listening.
It's certainly possible that the wrong person is on trial in this case.
Yeah.
The other thing that's happening, Eklund, in all this, you see the protesters, the man who's leading all this, he's locked up now, by the way.
I got it.
He's known as Turtle Boy. There's a bunch of different charges. There he was, but he got rearrested after initially getting out on bond. What are your thoughts? I mean, we've never really seen anything as explosive and divisive in a neighborhood. This is the same courthouse, by the way, where Sacco and Vanzetti stood trial back in the day. The difference was, I think when they were on trial, they literally put him in a cage at counsel table. But we can talk about that later. What do you think about Karen Read? What do you think about this case?
I think that all of the evidence that the defense is requesting is Brady evidence, like Nima stated, and it should be let in. And the fact that you're telling me that this woman who's like a $105 wet is able to, carry this man out and
no, she just hit him with his car, right? She dropped him off at the party and
Okay, so let's get 62 feet, 24.2 miles an hour, up an upgraded road, wintertime, snow, curve. I mean, she must have been one hell of a skilled driver to navigate that. For the possibility of this. Obviously, you can sense my sarcasm here because we know it's bullshit. We know it's bullshit.
Oh yeah,
he's getting out. She doesn't want to go in, so she backs over him and leaves him to die in the snowstorm.
So leaves him to die in the snow. So he just backs. So we're just gonna back into an officer who is trained to prevent things like this. It sucks either. It just looks.
Oh
bad
wait, she's gonna back into a car right now. Let's watch. And the question is, did she break her tail light doing this?
Yes.
Or
cracked it.
Murdering John O'Keefe? That's one of the questions the jury.
She said it to Jen. My day is even so bad that I cracked my tail light. Backing up. She said it.
She's gonna have to figure out because the tail light was smashed. Was it smashed there, or was it smashed?
Yeah, we were too. It needs more
earlier
attention.
When she struck.
Case
or allegedly struck John O'Keefe. I mean, there's a lot of questions here. We're gonna be all over it tomorrow because they're gonna be back in court. Matt Johnson's doing his own investigation.
All right, let's go here real quick, and then we'll go to the Coffin Daffer video.
Indictment. Boy, oh boy. This case is really something. Ted Spalding here in the studio with me. We're looking at Karen Read watching the attorneys at sidebar. Ted, what do you think? Do you think these motions to dismiss the indictment entirely and to disqualify the prosecutor's office separately, think they're going to have any teeth?
Merry Christmas and Happy New Year.
I doubt it.
We're going to talk, man.
Let's put it this way. I don't think the motion to dismiss likely will. Now, again, we don't know what their strategy is there in their argument. Those are always filed. So that one's not surprising. Doubt they'll win it, but let's see what happens. The prosecutor's office, I should say, might have a little merit because, again, remember, we're talking about an abnormal case here, one where we have real potential evidence, I should say, because we haven't really seen it yet, of collusion, maybe some planting of evidence type things. And we've got an investigator who probably should have been pulled from it because of some ties to the folks involved. Now you got a prosecutor's office. So maybe there is some teeth to that. That normally is pretty hard to do, as you know, to disqualify a prosecutor, a judge, try to move venue, all of those types of things that defense counsel tries to do oftentimes. But this one might be that unique one where it could work.
This was a section from Julia Grant.
I'm with you. And if
I was going to play this, but that segment was so divided up. You can find it on the Court TV page. It's about a 45-minute segment, and that's not really what I want to get into. I definitely want to get into Vinnie Politan and with Coffin Daffer and Little, because that was great. It was a great segment. But this was a segment that was out of her opening statement segment. It's actually really good. I encourage everybody to go watch it. I just didn't want to go through this tonight. It wasn't really my most important segment.
In that prosecutor's office, I don't know how they aren't running, across the street to the AG's office, wherever it is, and saying, please take
get me out of this case.
I mean, really, what a nightmare. And I can't stress enough how, from the outset, why did nobody say, let's use AG investigators and AG
Yeah, it
prosecutors
was
for this
great.
whole thing. This way, they're not connected to anybody. They're truly independent. But no, that wasn't done. And so now we've got a federal probe, Ted, looking at this thing, which that could go somewhere too, right?
It could. And again, it lends credibility to the defense's arguments here. I think that's why this is so compelling of a case that we're watching here, and it's great for the public to see, especially today when you saw that little ending of, we were joking about
So
it.
here's a little, I'm going to stop this here. So here's a little secret I have to tell everybody. I actually interviewed Jennifer Coffindaffer on my channel. I'm seeing the tomatoes come, but it was a while ago. And then I realized her stance on Karen Reed, and I was like, fuck you. Yeah, it was a
Herding
while ago,
cats and
though.
things. Judges talk about that all the time. The public's getting to see all the inner workings
not
and
be
things.
coming back to my
They
panel.
ultimately agreed to things. Why did we have to fight
No.
over it in the first place? Someone thought they were going to win on some of these
Do not
motions.
be
So
coming back
it's
to
an
my
interesting
panel.
one for the public to see all around.
It is.
And I'm with you. I mean, again, why not pull that investigator at the beginning? Then at least at that point, when it's oopsie, we probably should have.
Yeah.
Now let's clean that up.
Opportunity was earlier in my channel. I had the opportunity to do it, so I took it up on the opportunity. It was for the Idaho 4 case, and it won't be happening again.
Up. Let's let the AG's office do it, because we're
God.
just going to allow the defense to
Yeah,
have
I mean,
some things. It's
listen,
not just throwing mud up
it
against.
was earlier in my YouTube days as my channel was growing. I had the opportunity to interview her and ask her some questions about the Idaho 4 case. I took the opportunity to do it. But again, she won't be coming on because I've seen the way that she's treated Karen. I've seen the way that she she always, oh, of course she's done it, that kind of conversation. And again, she won't be coming back on my show. So
Against
no
a
need.
wall, there might be some real defenses there that you've now created.
Right.
Why do that?
Yes. I know. I mean, this is just has been handled horribly from the perspective, and I'm not saying that it was, a cover up. I'm not saying any of that. I don't know. I'm not privy to it. But just the appearance of impropriety needs to be avoided, and that's what didn't happen here. When the person tasked with leading the whole thing, when it's making news in Boston, it's shaken rather, the whole community up, with John O'Keefe. They give it to a guy who's connected to two of the key witness families here. It's just awful. And now it keeps snowballing. Ted, we have about a minute left. I want to bounce off of you. A legal theory. This is my legal theory that I just developed last night as I was going down the rabbit hole of this case. Why can't both things be true? Why can't we have both her backing up into him, and then that would explain why the glass from his cocktail glass was found in the taillight, because she got angry or whatever, backed into him, maybe the glass went in it, but didn't kill him. And maybe he died in the fight, as the defense is saying he did, and was left there out on the lawn. I wonder if both sides are saying some things that have merit here.
Yeah.
What do you think?
No, I think that's very smart, and I would be shocked if that doesn't become part of the defense.
Yeah.
Because remember what you got to do when you have bad facts. Bad fact being it's proven through all of this testing that his glass is in that
I think
car.
Street
How do you
Squirrel
explain that? You
just
got to
picked
explain
up
it
on
away.
my
And
bet.
it's a great point.
Oh, Ted Spalding, you're too kind. I'm
My
so glad we had
body
you on the show
language.
today. Thank you for all that. We'll talk more about this case, I am sure. Right now, I'm going to turn things over to another.
That's some fucking producer here, I'm telling you. Fucking say this now. I'm like, what parallel universe am I on right now? Is this lady actually saying this? All right. Let's do this one. I think I get another Vinny, and then we'll round it up. We'll finish it out with the back and forth with Coffindaffer and Little, which was great. Good stuff.
We investigate the death of Boston police officer John O'Keefe.
Vinny!
I'm Vinny Politan. Thank you for joining us tonight here on Closing Arguments. And let me preface everything that's going to happen in the next hour by saying, what I want is the truth. That is my only agenda. night in and night out here is the truth. This case we're covering tonight, the most divisive that we've had in quite some time. Every time I do the story, I get hundreds of.
I just think it's the most obvious case that I've seen in the longest time. It's so obvious that Karen didn't do this. It's so obvious as to we know what went on in that house that night. I mean, that's what it is. It's just obvious. It's obvious.
Direct messages and posts, etc. And it's coming from both sides. It's coming from both sides of this case because that's the nature of the case. But let me just establish at the top. My agenda is very simple. The truth. This is a case unlike any other where we've ever seen an accused cop killer have this incredible support from the community. When does that happen? When on earth does that happen? An officer is killed, someone is accused of murdering that police officer, and there are
I agree, Rob.
protesters showing up at the courthouse with signs supporting her, saying, "Free Karen Read." Like that, this just doesn't happen. It's never happened before. I've never seen it. I've never experienced it. This case has many different layers and aspects that are very unusual. And this is one, I think, until we get to trial and we get to see and hear all the experts, all the evidence, see and hear from the experts, because experts are going to play a huge role in this case. To understand what was actually found, what the timeline was, who said what, who was where, who's connected to whom, all of that. This is a case that needs to play out inside of a courtroom. It absolutely does. And you know, a lot of times I'll look at the evidence before a case and I'll make up my mind based upon that evidence that I'm seeing. Sometimes things look very obvious to me. This one doesn't seem obvious. There's a lot of things that don't add up on both sides, which as a former prosecutor, I'll tell you is not good for the prosecution because you have the burden beyond any and all reasonable doubt, but that's not my concern. My concern is what is actually the truth. What happened to Officer John O'Keefe? Now we're talking about these protesters that have been showing up. Another strange development in all of this. A local journalist, podcaster, whatever you want to call him. His name is Turtle Boy. He was on the show once. He's under arrest, and he was like leading the charge here, screaming at the top of his lungs with a bullhorn, going on YouTube, going wherever he could to advocate for an injustice that he believes he was seeing taking place inside that courtroom. And there are a lot of followers, and it has divided a community. But again, you don't see people with bullhorns outside of courthouses, telling the public, free an accused cop killer. It just doesn't happen. It doesn't happen. That's why this is going to be one of the biggest trials of 2024 right here on Court TV. It's going to happen. It's going to happen. And we're going to need to watch each and every day, listen to every witness, examine all that evidence. And hopefully after all that happens, it becomes clear what happened. Because as we sit here tonight, it's not so clear. And what is happening outside that courthouse and what is happening in the public, again,
a movement.
Beyond unusual.
A movement.
This case is different. Take a look at what happened today.
A movement.
Karen Read, all the way to
Rita.
Number 5.
Yeah, the Google van's awesome. Oh, lunch off.
See you in jail, buddy.
How do you feel?
If anybody wants to know what the camera I have looks like, it's right here. It's that little tiny camera right here. Pocket 3. Can check it out.
Today went great. Karen,
If you'd love to see the lovely footage that I have, I can drop the link to that, and you can watch all my courtroom or outside the courtroom footage, and I'll drop that for you all if you haven't seen it. It's only got 655 views. We need more views on that, but I'll drop it in the chat if you want to watch it after this. I would appreciate it. All right, let's keep playing.
How are you holding up? Awesome. What can you tell us
And that's
about
me
the
right there. Oh, now I realize what I was doing. I had my camera up. Like
When
that.
on earth
I thought
do
it was just
accused
standing there like
murderers
this.
get applause when they walk into a courtroom? When does that happen?
Thank you. Yeah, check it out.
Never. Never. It never happened. This case is different. All right, let's go to Court TV crime and justice correspondent Matt Johnson, who's joining us live from outside the courthouse in
Matt was really
Massachusetts
great.
tonight. Matt,
Matt did some really great interviews with people. He's treating people with like respect and not going there to like belittle anybody. It was just really, really good. And the Rita interview was great. He was like, I can talk to you forever, but he's like, I have to do a live shot. But he was really good.
great to see you. I was wondering what was going to happen when that Massachusetts cold set in January, and it didn't deter folks
We ain't
from
got no
showing
quit.
up. I know you've got to stand outside. That's your job, right? But these folks are still showing up today. Tell us what it was like at the courthouse this morning.
Yeah, it was about 20 degrees. Nice to see you, Vinny, on this Friday, where we saw dozens of supporters, protesters, holding signs, standing on both aisles, both sides of the street in this very small, quaint town just outside of Boston, very Norman Rockwell. They were here, and I was asking them why it was so important for them to make a stand, holding signs in the cold. Here's what they shared with me.
I had to stand up because I knew that I had what it took to help Karen Read and get that word out and do that. And that's what I have done. And I'm very passionate about
Welcome in,
it. And I
everybody.
am sad.
Please do me a favor, smash that like at the button when you come in. We're trying to get to 200 likes tonight. That carries the stream and gets it out there. And when we carry the stream and get it out there, it gets more people in the chat, and it gets them more aware of the movement that we're trying to continue to spread and get the truth out there so people can understand what the truth is.
That my community has fractured over this, and we are hopeful that our select board is also involved because Chris Albert, whose family is involved in his family, it's his brother's house, and Chris Albert was at the house.
As you saw today, there was no booing.
Great too.
And that's what we're here for. We're here for justice.
No booing, but there were cheers.
There were cheers. Free Karen Read chants, and I'm not sure exactly if there were any words exchanged between two different sides. But what I do know is that everybody that is out here in the cold and majority of inside the courtroom is here to support Karen and find justice for John. And the only way to find justice for John is to find the real killers of John O'Keefe.
And Vinny, that was a theme that we kept on hearing time and time again. Everyone that we spoke with was justice for John is what they're in search of here. And they also want more information, but they do share with me in this very small town. It is a town divided. Every person said that.
It's unreal. And that was a change because in prior hearings, we've heard those boos, and that was not sitting right with a lot of folks.
Hey,
you're
Paul,
talking
how are
about
you?
victims'
Good to see you,
families,
buddy.
et cetera.
Good to see you. Thanks for
Friends,
coming in.
and I think
appreciate it.
I think
Gonna
they've
get
made
to
the
the best
correct
part soon.
turn, seeking justice, what they believe is justice, but ultimately, I think what our system wants is the truth to come out, and that the truth would be justice for John O'Keefe.
I met a lot of people.
All right.
I apologize. If
You had an
been meeting so many
opportunity,
people
I
lately.
saw, to speak with Karen Reed today. Tell us about that.
Oh.
Right. You know, as she was
Harry
exiting
with
the
the 5,
courthouse, in the video that we're playing for you, that's only half of the protesters that were out here early this morning braving that cold. So as she's making her way down the steps, I had a few questions for her and her defense team, including, you know, is there new evidence that hasn't been brought to light yet that you have discovered? Because they kind of alluded to that, and we'll talk about it. But then I also asked Karen Reed how she's holding up and her message for these supporters. How do you feel today?
Today went great.
Karen, how are you holding up?
Awesome.
What can you tell us about the relationship? What other possible evidence may you have? Do you want to test with DNA?
We're not going to comment right now. Thanks.
Carries the bat.
Karen, what do you think about the supporters out here for you?
I'm very grateful, Matt.
Any comments for the supporters?
Thank you.
She also has a lot of support from her family members. Both her mom and her dad were in court today, along with other family friends. They stopped their black SUV. They rolled down the window, and they said that they appreciate the media covering the story.
Tracy, how are you?
And I'm also been told by a lot of locals here in town outside of Boston.
Oh, by the way, Tracy, I watched your video earlier. It was really great. It was a nice montage you guys put together. If you haven't gone over, please subscribe to Resistance to Silence. It's a really great, informative channel supporting Karen and Turtle Boy, and they just do more of the informative stuff over there to let everybody know about the standouts, some of the events that will be going on, fundraising, and just some best practices when we go out and do these standouts and protests. So please go over. I'll drop their link in the chat. Let's get them some subs over there. And of course, I don't know if Tom's still in the chat, but I'm sure you're all subbed to Tom as well too. Go over and sub to Tom, The Glarer, Unsafe Spaces, Young Jerks. Hang on. Cool, I got it. Yeah, Resistance to Silence. I'll drop their link.
They say that the number of protesters
walk
is
simple.
also growing each and every
Melanie
hearing
Little.
as we rev up towards that trial.
Yeah, I just wasn't sure if it was going to continue, in the bitter cold up there, but it obviously did today.
Oh boy, of course.
So every time we do this story, this case, this trial, there's always two stories, right? There's what's happening outside the courthouse. Now
you're
take us
welcome,
inside
Dana.
the courtroom.
So glad I got to meet you the other
What-
day.
What
Thank
did you see as some of the highlights from today's hearing?
Right. So outside in front, there was a bit of a security scare, I'm hearing from my sources. So they had barricades up in front of the courthouse. They had a lot of law enforcement, both inside and outside. They had the media go in first. And then Karen Reed walks in after a lot of the protesters were able to get seats inside. This happened around 9 o'clock this morning. And then from my vantage point, the whole room just erupted up in cheers. But I want to play you that moment.
So it was funny. I was reading a lot of the comments on some of these videos that just the national audience, the people that don't know about the Free Karen Reed movement, and a lot of people were being very criticizing of the cheering. There's like, this man died and people are cheering, but I don't think people understand what the cheering is about. The cheering is about that they need to realize that what is going on with Karen is a complete frame job. It's a complete bunch of bullshit, and that we are cheering in the sense that we are able to fight back and educate. That's what the cheering is for, fighting back and educating, and also bringing people aware that Karen should not be there in this courtroom, and the real killers should be in this courtroom in her place. That's what the awareness is about. That's what the cheering is about. We are screaming, we are loud and proud, we are fighting back against tyranny. And this is our First Amendment right to be out here and do what we're doing and supporting this movement and growing this movement and making sure that people understand what this movement is about. You know, peacefully going out and protesting our First Amendment right, fighting against tyranny, and making people aware. That's what the cheering is about, that we're fighting back.
Now, again, this is out of the presence of the judge before she took the bench. Supporters cheered as she made her way to that defense table. Again, Reed claiming that she's being framed by people at the party that are police officers, people who own the house, possibly, and also the police investigating. That's their claims. Well, today, her defense argued that they should have access to Elizabeth Proctor's cell phone records. Well, who is she? Well, she's the wife of an investigating state trooper who the defense claims is friends with the couple who owned the house where O'Keefe died. Take a listen to some of those arguments.
He basically argued that there are false statements made about Michael Proctor's relationship with some of these other parties. Since the very beginning, and that brings up the fundamental issue, Your Honor, of what is that relationship and what's the nature of the relationship, and why do we believe that that relationship establishes extrinsic evidence of bias and an inability to be neutral. From the very beginning of this case, we have questioned the neutrality and the bias of Michael Proctor and certain other government witnesses based on overwhelming facts that we've learned, overwhelming facts that establish that both this investigator and this investigation are compromised. That's why we've asked for the communications that the Commonwealth has now agreed with. Our request is nothing short of critical to our defense, obviously, and it's based on Ms. Reed's constitutional right, as established in Davis versus Alaska, a U.S. Supreme Court constitutional right that's recognized as the right to attack the credibility of any government witness, be they a government witness on behalf of the police and the investigation or any other government witness.
Is Elizabeth Proctor a government witness?
She is not, but Jennifer McCabe is. And the communications that we're interested in are the communications that are concomitant between Elizabeth Proctor and Jennifer McCabe.
Essentially,
his sleepy dude.
The relationship between these two, quote, families is...
Now, this is important, and this is what I want everybody to start paying attention to, because this is the direction the prosecution is going to go in this case, or the state, however you want to say the DA's off. They're going to start spreading all these people out and go, they have no, they're parting the waves like the Red Sea. They have no connection. This one's over there, and 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 they don't know nobody in between. They don't know nobody. Nobody knows nobody here. This is very important. I'm telling you, this is a key point. This is where they're going to go with this.
A distant connection that involves 5 separate steps of relationships between, I guess I'll call them relatives. Regardless of all of that, there's still issues on admissibility and relevance under the first prong of land prong.
There is a massive connection.
Okay, so the court ultimately decided that they were going to take that under advisement, make a decision later. As for Jennifer Proctor, or the Jennifer McCabe, they still haven't received discovery from that. The defense brought that up, and they also talked about DNA in the case. The court ultimately decided that DNA can be collected from the investigating troopers, but it's yet to be determined whether or not that DNA can be tested against any new.
We want the DNA from the scratches on John's arm. Where's that DNA? Where's that
evidence
DNA
that is proposed in the case by the defense?
Where's this
and The judge
Where's the
asked, well,
shoe?
do you have new evidence to submit or talk about? And they said that they didn't want to show their hand at this point in time.
I'm fascinated as to how far they're going to allege this conspiracy goes, or was it a conspiracy? They were talking about bias today, but ultimately, are they going to argue that evidence was planted, that investigators framed her? Because that really seems like what is happening. They use the word bias and cover up, but it seems like they're really insinuating there is much, much more going on here. So, all right, there's still a lot happening here. So what's next?
Okay, so what next is that there's going to be a hearing in about 2 weeks. And one of the things that could be discussed is the late motion that was filed today by her attorneys to have the Norfolk County DA sanctioned and disqualified. They cited misconduct in this 30-page motion that was filed late today. So that could be discussed in about 2 weeks. That is January 18th at 3 o'clock here. And then the trial. We are steaming forward on this trial, and it is happening quick. The judge says that she's not going to allow any delays here, Vinny, and that trial date is set for March.
Or as they say in Dedham, March. It's going to be in March.
That's right.
Listen,
Yeah,
Matt,
that's pretty good.
I know you're a California kid, but show the folks at home your hands. Can you show them your hands? Let's see your hands. Let's see the hands.
So
I know you're from California. What you
and
need
you
to
can probably
do,
see my breath.
yeah, when you're in Massachusetts in January, you bring gloves, okay?
I have them, but I can't scroll through my script.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. I just want to make sure, because I know you're from California. Matt Johnson, Court TV Crime and Justice correspondent. Thank you, sir.
All right, let's get to it now. The video that we've all been waiting for, where Vinny kind of gaslights Coffindaffer a little bit, which is good. And then Melody jumps on her and just crushes her. All right, here we go.
Michael Proctor, the state police trooper, being accused of planting evidence outside 34 Fairview Road, was never at Fairview Road on the day of the incident. Proctor and his state police partner traveled together the entire day while other officers were processing 34 Fairview. Trooper Proctor was not there and did not plant evidence at 34 Fairview Road.
But it says it in the VCA that he was there. And they did respond. And they were there.
In addition to having no opportunity to plant the evidence, as has been suggested, Proctor would have no motive to do so. Trooper Proctor had no close personal relationship with any of the parties involved in the investigation and had no conflict. And he had no reason to step out of this investigation.
Right.
Every suggestion to the contrary is a lie.
That's the Norfolk County DA, the one who's in charge of the prosecution of Karen Read. A public video that was released, very unusual, but again, this is a very unusual case in what's been happening. And there's been this groundswell up there in Canton and in the area, and there's been fingers pointed at people, including this Trooper Proctor. And you heard the DA say, listen, he didn't plant evidence, he wasn't even there, and he's not connected.
But the funny thing is, and I want to talk about this again, so Coffindaffer essentially dismisses the dog, Chloe, dismisses the dog and says, there's no way that this could have happened. Those scratches, though I always say scratches because we know they're scratches, those injuries were caused by Karen backing over him. But then 20 seconds later, she goes, and about the dog, well, the dog was given up because sometime later on later on, the dog attacked another dog in the neighborhood. And in that attack, the owner of the dog tried to separate him and he got bit. So it tells you right there that the dog scratches and bites and the dog attacks. She burns herself.
Connected to anyone that was in the house or any of the parties involved here. Well, the defense is saying something completely different. But let's begin by taking a look at the Commonwealth's statement of the case. Okay, so this is from the prosecution side. They say, in this, Trooper Michael Proctor and Sergeant Yuri Buchanek were among the troopers whom responded to the scene and began interviewing witnesses. So this trooper, very important part of the defense case, according to the Commonwealth's statement of the case, was there. Then today in court, Alan Jackson went a little further to outline evidence that he believes shows that Trooper Proctor's and his family is connected to the parties involved here. Take a listen.
We've established that there is a close personal relationship between. And
just real quick, Carrie, I'm going to send you something that is going to make you laugh and probably pee your pants. Check the chat. Check the chat. This happened on someone's live earlier, and you'll know who it is when you see it. Bottom left, check it out.
And among Michael Proctor and obviously Elizabeth Proctor and these third-party culprits that have been implicated in this case that we've brought to the court's attention, the Alberts and the McCabe's. So he calls the evidence that we've procured and that we've presented to the court as lies. Well, let's look at those lies for a quick second. We have presented the court with photographic evidence, not something that we came up with, something they came up with. Photographs in Exhibit C in our moving papers. And I'll just cover a couple of those. There's a photograph that we presented that shows Trooper Proctor's mother, with a person by the name of Colin Albert, pictured in the photograph, with Trooper Proctor's sister pictured in the photograph, with Chris Albert pictured in the photograph, and with Jennifer McCabe's own daughter depicted in the photograph. They're all together at a birthday party. These are close and immediate family members of the Proctor family, the Albert family, and the McCabe.
But remember, according to the state, they don't know. Listen, no one knows anybody. There's no way. It's 5 degrees. Remember, it's 5 degrees of separation, not 6, 5.
Family, and they're all together and they're socializing. That's not a lie. It's a photograph. And it's unassailable evidence of that relationship. There's a second photograph of Trooper Proctor and Colin Albert in a wedding party together. And I would urge the court to note, they're not at a wedding together. They're in a wedding together. In the wedding party.
It's so good.
There's a third photograph.
And when was that? When was that? When was that?
2012. So this relationship, as the court just noted, and I was about to get to in a second, is not just days old, months old, weeks old. This relationship is decades old between these families. There's another photograph that the court has seen, Trooper Proctor literally on the dance floor with Colin Albert. Trooper Proctor was seated at the same table having dinner with Colin Albert, Chris Albert, and Chris Albert's wife. But I would highlight the last point that I think should be highlighted for the court's attention, and that's the Facebook post. Trooper Proctor's mother refers to the Albert family as the Proctor's second family. So one might actually ask Mr. Morrissey, who's actually lying in this case?
Okay, so now let's take a look at this visual because he's throwing a lot of names out there and it's a little confusing. So I want to make it a little less confusing. So the Proctors are that's the trooper, but what is his connection to the Alberts and the McCabe's, et cetera? But who are these people? So this is the house where John O'Keefe was found dead on the lawn, okay? The owners of the house are Brian Albert and Nicole Albert. They are married. Now, Brian Albert has a brother named Chris who's married to Julie. They have a son named Colin. So Colin is an important name in all of this. Chris, Julie, again, brother of Brian Albert. Brian Albert and Nicole, they have children, Caitlin Albert, Brian Albert Jr., and then there's a friend of theirs, Julie Nagel. Then you look at Nicole Albert, her sister, another important name in all of this, Jennifer.
Well, I made a little, I wouldn't say it's a meme, but I put a little thing out there earlier, and I put it in the chat. And I said, nothing to see here, folks. It's the Karen Reed case. Nothing to see here, folks. And I kind of screenshotted this and made it into a little, I guess it's a meme.
Jennifer McCabe, who's married to Matt McCabe. So this is the house. So the night that John O'Keefe got out of the car in front of the house and either went to the party or was murdered or...
Right here, real quick. Let's see. Yeah, I made this earlier. I tweeted it out. Nothing to see here, folks. Nothing to see here. That's good stuff. All right, let me go back to the video and we'll start seeing. Let me just recognize this. Motion VIP says just passing through, giving you some love, everyone. Keep it up, Brian. You're killing it. Thank you so much, Motion VIP. I appreciate it. You're the man, bro. You've been OG back in the day. I get it, bro. You're busy. You're busy. I understand. It's not a problem. It's not a problem. All right, let's play.
Run over by Karen Reed, who was in the house. Take a look. This is what's alleged here.
Exactly.
Brian Albert's there. Nicole is there. Chris and Julie are not there, but their son Colin is there, which is Brian's nephew. Their kids are there. Brian Albert Jr., Caitlin, and their friend Julie. Also there, very significant, is Jennifer McCabe and Matt McCabe. All of this, trying to understand the names, the relationships, and does it all lead to some conspiracy, bias, framing, planning evidence? Let's bring in our guests. Joining us in New York City, attorney, podcaster Melanie Little is with us. In Boston, Massachusetts, criminal defense attorney and author of the books Super Predators and Law and the Tough on Crime Myth, Peter Ellikin is with us. And down in beautiful Jacksonville, Florida, retired FBI Special Agent Jennifer Koffendorfer. Great to have everyone here. All right, Melanie, I'll begin with you. So is the defense really predicated on the fact that Trooper Proctor, who was at a wedding and his family is...
Why am I getting this sense? And listen, I can't speak for her, but why am I getting this sense that Melody kind of wants to go at it with Koffendorfer? Why am I getting... The smile is already there. She knows. She knows.
Is close with the Alberts, is literally planting evidence to literally frame Karen Reed for murder? Is that what the defense is saying here, Melanie?
I think that's exactly what they're saying. And they're also saying that there are a lot of questions of fact here. You know, if Trooper Proctor, who was the lead investigator...
I hate to interrupt you. I just want to preface our entire conversation tonight. I'm not concerned about reasonable doubt, okay? Reasonable doubt, that's... I want to know about the truth tonight.
Demo. I appreciate
because
it.
The defense is saying John O'Keefe was murdered by people in that house, and the prosecution is saying he was murdered by Karen Reed. So I want to look at these as two cases and evaluate what's going on here. Let's begin with the defense case. So Melanie, go ahead. I'm sorry I interrupted you, but I understand this is a case that's going to be tough.
Yeah,
with reasonable.
And the funny thing is, Vinny kind of gaslights Koffendorfer a little bit here. It's pretty good.
But I want to get to the truth tonight. So what do you see in terms of these relationships? Is that enough? Like someone would do this? Frame this woman?
Well, I can't see why anybody would find it so beyond the pale that it could never actually happen. I mean, if it is...
Now, I got to say something, though, and I'm going to stop this, and I know people are going to get mad at me, but I'm going to stop it. I will say this, though. I know Melanie's very new jumping into this case. She does say John O'Keefe's last name is Proctor. She made a kind of flub there. I get it. She's on national TV. You know, things happen. I'm not going to get down on her about that. We know what she meant.
It's true that Michael Proctor, who's the lead investigator on this case, has close ties to the Albert family and to the McCabe family. Everyone inside that house was a relative except for one person. So if the defense can show that there are close second family type ties between everyone in that house and the lead investigator on this case, that could be something that definitely could lead to reason.
Listen, it's national TV. I would be a little nervous. You know, I don't know how many these things she's done. You know, she sees so many cases and so many names. Shit happens. You know, shit happens. It's not a problem. Not a problem. I screw things. No one's perfect. We screw up.
Reasonable doubt. I know you don't want to go there, but that's exactly
again, I'm not concerned about the reasonable doubt tonight.
Problem.
Not tonight. When we get to the trial, I'll get to it. I'm trying to figure out the truth here, Peter, because I've got Alan Jackson, a former prosecutor who was amazing out in California, jumping up and down literally on the courtroom steps, telling us that the prosecution has it all wrong. The DA has this all wrong, and that it's the police who are responsible here.
Well, yeah, first of all, I'd say that there was such a conflict of interest here. Even the appearance of bias, I don't know why Trooper Proctor was in charge of this investigation. There's just too many ties we saw that we just.
Well, the
they just
defense
went
is
over.
saying he's in charge because he's framing Karen Reed. That's why. He's not going to give up the lead on this because he's got to save, his friend and his friend's son and whoever else they're going to allege did this and frame somebody for this.
Yeah, and I guess
You
that's.
can see,
I think
this is the funny thing. You can already see Coffin Daffer's body language. I want to go back a little bit. She's already like, what the fuck, man? Watch her body language here.
And whoever else they're going to allege did this and frame somebody for this.
Yeah, and I guess that's. I think we've all been seeing enough cases over the years that it's not absolutely beyond the pale that some police officer may not be truthful. So.
Wait, there's a difference, though. This is a difference between not being truthful, forgetting something, and literally taking evidence and putting it somewhere so you can frame someone for murder, take away their liberty, and put them in jail for the rest of their life. This is different than just making a mistake.
Do that to protect a friend, though, or your long-term friends with the family. We saw it goes way, way back, and his mother is saying that the Alberts are a second family to her. And we have
Luthi, how are you?
One of the family
Good to
members,
see you.
Jennifer
Long time no
McCabe,
see.
going to his house.
Good to
Who
see
goes
you
to a
here.
state trooper's whole personal home to go chat with them, and it is not even reported in any paperwork. So with those kinds of biased ties, would there be a motive? Could anybody do that to protect their friends, to protect people you've known for years?
Luthi, anytime you want to come up and educate, reach out to me. We'll get you up here. I know you have some spreadsheets and you have good ones. I'd love to see what you got. I'd love to see what you have on this case.
And that's why when the DA here has said that it's a lie if you see any connection between him and the family, the facts just don't bear that out.
Yeah, that was baffling. And I'm glad you mentioned that. Let's take a listen to Alan Jackson today talking about that meeting on September 25th of last year.
On September 25th, 2023, that one of those family members, Jennifer McCabe, was the subject of great interest in this case and a primary person of interest in this case, is invited to Trooper Proctor's personal home for some sort of off-the-books meeting. They've now admitted that Jennifer McCabe, a central character in the middle of this investigation, in the middle of this crime, was secretly meeting and or socializing with the lead investigator and or his wife in the living room of their home. And that, Your Honor, is a problem.
Okay, Jennifer, let me ask you.
Oh, wait. So you're all controlling the mute button here. Is that what I'm getting? You're all controlling the mute button. Ah, good stuff. I love it. Ha ha ha.
Good.
All right.
Should we be concerned, when I say we, the public, that the DA comes out and says there's no relationship with the family here. Proctor had nothing to do with what was going on that day. And it seems that that's not necessarily true. And then McCabe going to Proctor's house. I mean, should there be some concern here?
I think it's very important to truly understand the relationship. Brian Albert, who lived in the house where this incident occurred out in the front, his brother's wife's sister was friends with Proctor's sister.
Like Vinny, can you do it again?
Okay, that's how far removed. I
Gaslight
just hope
there.
your audience, the
One more
attorneys that
time,
are
one more
present-
time, one more
Fucking
time.
Vinny.
We'll do it
Brian
together.
Vinny gaslighting.
Brother's wife's sister was friends with Proctor's sister. Okay, that's how far removed. In other words, I could tell you, I have no idea who my sister-in-law's sister's friends are. I mean, there's no way. I couldn't tell you one of them.
Bullshit.
I don't even know my sister-in-law's friends. And we're very close.
You are fake news.
So my point is, this is how far removed it is. And then it's, again, Proctor's sister.
Come on, man.
Detective Proctor, I'm sorry, Trooper Proctor and Brian Albert, the home again, they had never even met each other. The pictures you're showing are his brother's family. His brother's family. And again, that's through this, removed relationships. So I think it's very important to understand that just because you have a Proctor there and an Albert there, they're not the same family unit. Second of all, everybody's forgetting about Brian Higgins. That chart, you're missing the ATF agent that was there. And that's very important too. So to have this conspiracy work, we have to have a Boston police officer, Canton Police, EMS, an ATF agent, the medical examiner's office, the district attorney, and the state police all combined to do this huge conspiracy against who? Nothing against Karen Read, but
Look at Melanie.
who is Karen Read? Karen Read is no one special other than she was dating in a relationship that was falling apart.
A relationship that was falling apart. How would you know that? You're privileged to what goes on behind their private walls? Okay.
The victim deceased.
Okay, everyone stay where you are. We've got to hit a quick break. We've got to hit a quick break. When we come back, much more. Don't go anywhere.
All right, I'm gonna just speed this up a little bit. We're gonna get a cut here. Let's see.
Cover up.
Yeah, I'm gonna just get past this. We're gonna get a unfortunately a advertisement. Oh, actually, I might get past it. Hey, there's me right there. Now the best part comes.
All right, folks, there's
There I
the
am
scene.
again.
Like I said, you don't see this. You just don't see this. So Matt Johnson, as we saw, has been up there this week. So he went to the neighborhood and is going to walk you through the story again. It's a very complicated story. And again, there's actually two stories we're talking about at the same time. What the prosecution says happened, what the defense says happened. Take a look.
We're here in Canton, Massachusetts. This is just outside of Boston. And on January 28, 2022, Karen Read and John O'Keefe went out drinking. They went drinking here at the Waterfall Bar and Grill. Later that night, they decided to meet up with a couple of friends that were at a bar down the street. It's about a block away now, and they make their way over here to CF McCarthy's Bar and Grill, and they meet up with Jennifer and Matthew McCabe. Around midnight, the bars begin to close, so everybody is invited back to Jennifer's sister's house, which, according to GPS, is about an 8-minute drive. Let's go check it out. They eventually make their way here to Fairview Road in Canton and at this house. This house was owned by Brian and Nicole Albert. At the time, Brian was a good friend of theirs.
So I want to get everybody a perspective because you can see it here. People that haven't been down to Fairview, okay? Because I've been there, I've stood there, and you can actually see Matt here. Matt is actually leaning to the right, which would be my right. Because that road is on a hill. There's a hill there. It goes down a hill, and right just after that flagpole, it starts this major turn that goes up. So I want everybody to keep that in perspective. If I'm trying to get the visualization here for you. So they're saying that she was 62 feet down, parked there. John was standing 62 feet behind her, and then she punched the gas up that hill, up a turn. I mean, you've seen the Turtle Boy video. Up the turn, up that turn with snow on the ground, and supposedly ran him over. It's impossible. It's absolutely impossible. But this gives you a better view of where that top of that hill kind of stops, because it starts to kind of flatten out right in front of the house. But it's not an upgrade.
And also a police officer. Now, what happens next is what this case is all about. Prosecutors say that the couple actually got into a fight. And when O'Keefe exited the car, Karen Read backed over him.
See the turn right there. See the turn? This is what I'm talking about. So it's not only on a hill, but it turns.
Leaving him to die in the curb here in front of this house during the snowstorm. Police collected a lot of evidence at the scene, including what appeared to be a broken cocktail glass with blood around it.
That's a good perspective of it too. You can see the grade of hell. I've walked it. I've literally walked it. There's no way. There's absolutely no way.
And also a broken taillight. Now, Reed says when she pulled up to the house here, she wanted to know if the couple was really invited. It was late at night. So she watched John O'Keefe walk up to the front door over there. And when he didn't return to the car and didn't return her phone call, that's when she said she went to his house and fell asleep. The next morning, Karen Reed hasn't heard from John. So she starts making phone calls. And then she comes back here to the last place she says that she saw him, over at this house on Fairview. And that's when he's discovered, lying in the snow dead. Now, Reed's defense says a very different story. They say that John was actually beaten up in the basement of this house and attacked by the family dog. They claim that he was dragged outside and left in the snow to die. Now, being here on Fairview Road in Canton, a few things come to mind. Why didn't someone see anything? Because the neighborhood, it's fairly dense. The houses are close together. But you have to keep in mind that this happened in January, in the middle of the night, and it was also a snow.
And keep in mind, just in the view of him, and I'm just doing this for people that don't understand, because if they don't live here and they've never been down there, if you look in the direction that he's facing right now and look to the left, 31 Fairview is right there. That has the outside webcam that mysteriously there's no footage out there. That would have literally shown everything that night. Everything that night.
Snowstorm, whiteout conditions.
Where's that footage?
Now, another key for the defense is the
Absolutely
snowplow driver who said that he
the hell
cleared Fairview Road here the morning that John.
See, this is 31 Fairview right here in that house, and Turtle Boy's gone there and knocked on the door. You can see the camera. And I'm just giving more perspective to people. You can actually see the curve here. See the curve? The yellow line is curving.
John O'Keefe was found dead. He claims that he didn't see a body in the road or near the road.
Okay, all my guests back with us, Melanie Little, Peter Ellikin, and Jennifer Koffendorfer. Melanie, which case is easier to prove? That he was murdered in the house or that he was murdered by Karen Reed?
I have so many questions. I think it's easier to prove that he was murdered in the house.
Tell me
in my
why.
Opinion. I mean, where's the dog? Where's the dog? I saw the photos of John Proctor's right arm that were taken at his autopsy. They have what clearly looks to me to be like animal scratches on them. All of a sudden, the family dog of 7 years, they had a German Shepherd in the house. The family dog is gone. They rehomed the dog. The dog is missing. The dog's DNA cannot be tested to see if those were in fact animal scratches. You know, there's a cocktail glass allegedly on the lawn. They never searched the inside of the house.
Why?
Why did they never go inside the house to see if they had those type of glasses inside the house? Why was the basement flooring ripped up? The house was sold. Why did this police officer who owned the house and his wife never come out of their house to look at the scene when there is a dead police officer on their lawn? I have so many questions.
Oh,
and I
yeah,
think
Dana,
at the
I'll
end of
pull
the
that
day,
up.
it's
Thank you.
the jury is going to have to decide the facts. And if we have so many questions from looking at these facts,
good stuff, Dana.
I think a jury's going to have a lot of questions too.
Jennifer, which case is easier to prove?
Oh, without
cool.
a doubt,
I'll
the
pull it
case that he was hit by Karen Reed. She had the motive. These are not dog scratches. That has been said by two medical examiners, separate medical examiners that examined him. Also, there were samples sent to a lab in California to test for non-human or canine DNA. Negative. So I find it so interesting that people want to look at a picture.
Bro, I've put this picture side by side to every dog bite and scratches on the internet, and they literally match up perfectly. I mean, I'm trying not to laugh at the situation, but they literally match up perfectly. We've done this before. Remember when Tom was on the show and I had side-by-side pictures and I went, look at the dog bites and the scratches. They completely match up.
And all of a sudden, they're medical examiners, they're doctors with PhDs, and they can say these are dog scratches. second to the point there, the Brian Albert, they sold their house months and months after that. Also, they had a leak downstairs in the basement that resulted in quite a lot of damage.
You think she's talking to them?
And that's why the flooring was replaced. As far as the dog, Chloe got into a fight with another dog in that neighborhood. And during that fight, one of the neighbors went to separate the two dogs and was scratched or bitten. And it was decided.
Yes, this is the part. She totally bags herself. I got to back up. Check this out. So she's like, it's not the dog, but then the dog scratches and bites. Ready?
With another dog in that neighborhood.
Right here.
Months after that. Also, they had a leak downstairs that people want to look at a picture, and all of a sudden they're medical examiners, they're doctors with PhDs, and they can say these are dog scratches. Second to the point there, the Brian Albert, they sold their house months and months after that. Also, they had a leak downstairs in the basement that resulted in quite a lot of damage, and that's why the flooring was replaced. As far as the dog, Chloe got into a fight with another dog in that neighborhood. And during that fight, one of the neighbors went to separate the two dogs and was scratched or bitten.
So the dog scratches and bites. She totally bags herself. She says, oh, as far as the dog got in a fight with another dog, and then when the owner went to go break it up, the dog bit him and scratched him. So yeah, so it tells you right there. This dog snaps in the sense of any commotion. So let's just say, allegedly, that there's a fight inside 34 Fairview that night, and that dog is in the room, and there's a commotion going on. What is that dog going to do? It's going to attack, or let's just say this, allegedly, if the dog is sent to attack, because we know the dog scratches and bites, she totally just bagged herself. Totally just bagged herself.
And it was decided amongst the people that they would go ahead and rehome the dog as opposed to making an even larger deal out of it. So there are very logical explanations, but these are the types of innuendos that have been completely blown up.
Totally contradicted herself. I think that's it. I think that's it. That's the end of that segment. All right. So what I want to do here is really quick. If you all haven't seen this, I want to, I just want to recognize this real quick. El Detecte de Juan says, Coffin Wanker keeps choking on the truths. Keeps choking on the truth. Sluicy says also, if you haven't heard that once the dog attacks, bites someone, it becomes more prone to repeat it. That is true because it becomes a learned behavior. Becomes a learned behavior. Chloe did it twice. We do know about that after John died. She failed to mention the second time. Dino's Ghost, $5. Thank you so much. Says, is she banging the BA, Brian Albert? Is she banging Brian Albert? How does she have such intricate details about Chloe in the house? It totally sounds like she's allegedly communicating with them. I mean, right? I mean, everybody's like, right? You know, that's what I said. I was just saying that a couple of like, is she really talking to these people? What I want to do really quick is just drop a couple of videos. If you haven't seen them, I actually did an enhancement here, and we'll play a little bit of this and then I'll drop it in the chat if you haven't seen it. But I did an enhancement of Karen actually backing up on that security video when she was going back to 34 Fairview that night to look for John. In a live show with Tom CPU. We did some commentary over it. I'm going to drop that video as well. I've cut that down into a little clip and you'll see that. I'll play a little bit of this and then I'm going to drop the footage of me at the courthouse the other day. I have nice hour-long footage there and actually got Karen coming out of court, which was pretty cool. So, but I wanted to do this full screen so everybody can see it. And what I'm going to do is play through the video, do some pausing and talk a little bit about it. We'll go through it here a couple of times, but I wanted to give you a better perspective and a better angle of what went on that night. And you can actually see Karen hit John's SUV, see John's SUV lunge forward, and you can see Karen's SUV lunge forward. When she leaves John's driveway, you can see that her light is out where she made contact with John's SUV. All right, let's play through the video here. This sample is from Court TV. I just enhanced it. So you can see her backing out. You're going to see it in large. Bam, right there.
You can totally see her car move forward.
She hit him. And I'll put some arrows in
Hit
here
the,
so you can see it.
SUV.
Let's back up. There it is right there. You can see the contact with John's SUV and Karen's SUV. Lunge forward.
huge,
I'll
Sully.
do it again.
And you can see
it.
John's SUV move forward. So his goes this way. She comes back.
Go
this
back
way
again.
towards the house.
Bam, right there.
All right. So I just wanted to play a little bit of that. If people are interested in seeing that, I did kind of enhancement on that video. I'll drop that in the chat. And then I'm going to play one more to take us out. And then I have kind of some parting words. And we'll end the stream for the night. I know it's getting late here on Sunday night and people have to work tomorrow. But this was some of my footage the other night when I was down at the hearing. I'll play the footage when Karen comes out so you can see it's basically Court TV is beside me and you can kind of see me turn. So check this out. And I'll drop this in the video if anybody in the chat, if anybody wants to watch this. It's about an hour long of footage.
What you gotta do? She's coming.
I haven't seen it.
You want to get in?
Drop that.
Yeah, get up there.
You can go back and refer to it.
Right here.
It's Karen. Oh, it's so good. Camera was great.
Today went great. Thank you so much. Can we make a quick call?
Love you, Karen. Free Karen Reed. 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 Free Karen Reed.
So I just follow Richie. I'm like, I'm going to follow Richie. I'm going. It's Tommy.
Towards the end, I heard about a motion to dismiss and sanctions. You feel comfortable speaking about that?
They will be filed later today.
Oh, that dickhead? Yeah, I don't know.
That is, I only heard brief. You won't have to wait very long. Okay. Okay. And is that how significant?
Yeah, I'm gonna
is that?
play that, James.
Great job. You'll be able to judge yourself.
Thanks.
So he was. I don't remember the question he asked Jackson, but he was trolling him. I know that he asked him some derogatory question that was trolling Jackson, and that's why Jackson looked at him and was just like, I forget what he said, but I do remember he was trolling him.
Oh, sorry.
Careful. Wire. Careful.
Oh yeah, Jody, it was great. They were really nice. They were talking to us, and they said they love what we're doing. And it's just so weird. The mainstream media just stopped. I'm like, Richie, we're going. Like I go like this to Richie. I'm like, we're going.
Hey, how you doing?
It's just so cool. I mean, walking beside, Yannetti, Little, Jackson, Karen, just awesome. Such a great day. And they were so cool. Everybody was very nice.
Oh, there's a back. The back doors are on the other side.
Yeah, bro. Just not guilty, bro. Definitely not guilty. I'll be out there in March. Don't worry, I'll be there. Thank you.
How you doing?
Yeah.
Stuff.
Dude, you gotta look in and get one of these cameras. They're nuts.
I have that.
You do?
Yeah,
it's
that's
crazy.
what's it called?
Pocket 3?
Yeah,
It's nuts.
I get the Pocket 2.
It's so good.
With the gimbal?
Yeah,
I have
so
it in the
good.
car.
Nice. Do you know who the other guy was? You looked into.
Hey, oh yeah, hey, love you guys. See you guys later.
All right.
Got good
Absolutely.
footage.
Hey, the last thing was awesome.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thanks for being
More
here.
to come,
Thank you.
believe
Thank
me.
you all for being here. So I'm just going to play a little bit more. And then, like I said, I dropped that in the chat if you want to watch it. It's my full hour of footage that I get out there. And
Yeah, that's the best for us chasing Turtle Boy around.
it's great.
Trying to keep up with him.
Yeah. It's good stuff, man. Oh, microphone blocked. Doesn't like that.
It's got a great little mic on it too.
Yeah.
Did you get the Do Anything kit?
Combo, yeah. Yeah, it's got everything.
Yeah, that thing's sick.
Yeah. He's really nice, dude, man. Works out really
I have a drone in the car too, but I didn't use it today.
No.
I can only do one thing at a time. You know?
Right, right. And you go quick.
Yeah,
If you
yeah,
miss
exactly.
it, that's it.
I can't even take a picture without worrying about that. But you're doing an awesome
Thank
job,
you, man. I
Your
appreciate
fucking
it.
show.
I
Oh my
appreciate
God.
it.
Seriously.
We're all doing it. It's everybody. And here goes Karen here. Karen just mouthed thank you. She said thank you. That's great.
That's awesome.
Yeah, she just looked at me and she said thank you.
Good, post that.
Yeah, that's great. Good stuff. Then Karen's father comes out. We have a little bit of
I'll see you over there,
conversation
Richie.
with
Okay.
her and her mom. So again, if you wanna watch that in the entirety, I'll drop the link. You're all welcome to watch that. Let's get some more views on that video. I only got like 700 views on it. Real quick, someone just sent me this. This was from last night at 34 Fairview. This gives you a perspective of what that road looks like. You can see the curve. There's the curve. See, it's on a hill and it curves right there. All right, y'all. We're gonna get ready to wind down. Catherine, thank you so much for the 20 on Venmo. I appreciate it. Couple things that I'm observing and things that I love. First of all, thank you all so much for opening up your, I guess, arms to me and reaching out and all the positive emails and everybody coming over and watching the shows. Listen, there are other cases that I cover as well. I get it. I might not get all your attention on that, but I appreciate that you're here supporting Turtle Boy. Keep pushing this movement forward in his absence, obviously supporting Karen Read and justice for John O'Keefe. We know what happened. We know what happened. And don't let any of these naysayers beat you down, back you down. You have the right to talk about it. You have the right to say what you're saying. We're peaceful when we go out, and keep doing what you're doing because it just only grows this audience. Look, there's more people coming into this movement. There's more people talking about it. Melanie Little now is talking about it, an attorney, which is great. We need attorneys talking about this case, dissecting the legal documents, putting it out there, and getting the truth out there so people can understand. Yes, you've all done a phenomenal job in your research, in your reporting, in your education, and letting people know out there. Turtle Boy started it. He is the man on top, and it sucks that he's not here right now. He would have absolutely loved to have been there on Friday and being the pillar in the community at that and being able to take in that moment of all the hard work that he's put in to keep this going. Right now, all I'm doing and all these other channels are doing is just continuing to push the movement forward. This is for Turtle Boy. This is why we're doing this. We're continuing to do it for him. And I know that he's, from what I'm hearing, is very anxious and wants to get out and get back to work. We need him in this movement. We need his voice loud and proud and out there. We will continue to do this. We will continue to push this forward. And again, I appreciate all the positive emails I'm getting. I'm meeting so many people through this movement. You've all been great. Everybody has been wonderful. All the people that have streamed about this, we're trying not to step on everybody. We're trying to kind of arrange our streams. You know, I saw today it was like Melody, then Will went, and then, you know, everybody's kind of getting their space. I'm getting, which was awesome. And that's what we need to do, so we can just keep these streams going and connect with people and get more people into this movement and awareness of like what happened at 34 Fairview, according to the state, is not what happened. It's not what happened. You know that, and I know that. So listen, I appreciate everybody. I'll keep continuing to educate and put these streams out here. And, you know, look, you know, like I said, there are other cases that I cover. I'm going to get back to doing some of those this week. And, you know, I will continue to do this. I'm going to try to get some correspondence with Turtle Boy, I hope, and get that out there. I don't know if you all saw, I did an open letter to him on one of my social medias, and I'll end that tonight with this and just show you what I put out there, just so everybody knows. I put this up on my Facebook, my Twitter, and my Instagram, and just says, Turtle Boy, it's difficult to comprehend the challenges you're facing and the emotions you're experiencing at this moment. I want to emphasize that your Free Karen Read movement has been a tremendous source of inspiration for many. Your absence in your leadership is sorely missed. We are steadily fast carrying on the torch in your honor, ensuring that the flames of the movement never burn out. During your absence, we remain committed to the fight against tyranny, proudly shouting these 3 words: Free Karen Read. So I got that message sent to him. I hope he got it. And if not, it's out there for when he returns. So tomorrow's a very important day for Turtle Boy. Send some prayers out there for him. And let's do this like we always do in the show. When we end our streams, I'm going to open up the chat. Let's see some turtles for Turtle Boy. Let's see some hearts for Karen and John, and then we'll end this stream. And I appreciate everybody being here and supporting LTL. I really do. Let's see him, and then we'll end this stream, and everybody's going to have a wonderful Sunday night. And I am off the next 2 days, so I'm sure I'm going to be streaming. Of course, I'll be praying for Turtle Boy tomorrow at 9 a.m. And that's it, everybody. Thank you for throwing all that up. I appreciate it. Let's see it. Good stuff. All right, that's going to take us to about the 2 hour and 12-minute mark. Everybody have a wonderful Sunday night. Get some sleep. Get charged up. And continue to push the movement forward. I want to thank everybody for being in the chat tonight, all the new subscribers, all the people that supported the channel. I appreciate it. The super chats, the Vemos, the buy me a coffees. It helps me become closer to be getting out of my corporate job and becoming a full-time creator. It's my goal by the end of 2024. All right, y'all. Have a good night. Have a good Sunday. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.